Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm so glad you're back. Oh, it gets me so excited when we get to read. Okay. So, the story that I'm going to read to you today for INDLS, specifically fabulous first graders, but anyone who would like to enjoy, is 8.3 and 8.4 in OLS. The story is called The Water of Life, and it is in this book, K-12 Classics for Young Readers, Volume A. Now, in there, it is on page 124, and it goes all the way to 147. Okay, so we're going to do a picture walk, but the first thing you need to do, please, is pause the video and go get your book. And then we do a picture walk, and then I read through it. Hopefully, you've listened to a few videos before, and if not, welcome. Bienvenidos. Okay, go get the book. You're going to pause the video in 3, 2, 1. And then come on back and unpause the video. Ready? 3, 2, 1, hajime. Hey, you're back. Yes, I love it when you come back. Okay, so in that fantastic book, please turn to page 124. 124. The story is called The Water of Life. All right, and it's adapted from the Brothers Grimm, which means it's it sounds like another story. So adapted means they maybe changed it a little, they made it a little shorter, maybe a little easier to read. Adapted means kind of altered, like changed a little bit. All right, got it? Okay. We're going to do a picture walk. All right, and if you need to stop the video at any time, go ahead. Sometimes sometimes you have to go to the bathroom right in the middle of the video, and you gotta do what you got to do. Okay? All right. So I'm looking at page 124, and I see 3 men. They do not look happy. And then I see a much older gentleman there. And well, I don't know. So I see 4 men. Now looking at page 125, I see somebody up in a tower. Looks like he's sleeping. But he looks kind of older too. I mean, look at that big long white beard. I don't know. Let's turn the page. Okay, page 126. I see the man that was in the tower, and he's laying there, and then I see maybe a younger man. I wonder if he was one on the previous page just talking to him, and then I see at the bottom, okay, that's a funny looking guy. And I can say that because I'm a funny looking girl. He's got a red hat, he's got on blue pants, and they look short, and look at the size of his nose. That's a beautiful looking schnoz. Okay, so look at page 127, and hey, that man doesn't look happy. I wonder if he's tall or short or medium. And I see horses. Wow. Looks like they're kicking up a lot of dirt. I am so curious about this story. Okay, turn the page. Whoa, that's a pretty picture on 128 and 129. It looks like a countryside, and I see big rocks and trees, and I see a man on a horse, and I see some flowers. I have no idea what's going on. But when we read, maybe this will make sense. Okay, turn the page. Okay, on page 130, I see that man again, and I see a horse, and that man's kind of standing there. Now, we can't see his face, but I don't know. I don't know if he's going, or what do you think? If you saw somebody standing like that from behind it, do you think he's happy or not so happy? Okay, so looking at page 131, oh no. Oh no, the man and his beautiful horse look to be tangled in vines, and look, there are thorns on there. They don't look happy for sure. What is going on? Okay, turn the page. 132. Oh, there's a man and and a horse. I don't know if it's the same one. And then look at that, the funny looking man, the very handsome man with a very large schnoz is talking to him, and I think they're smiling. Okay, he's pretty short. Look, because the other man is bending down. Now look at page 133, and that really shows that he is of a shorter stature. He's giving the man in the purple cape something. Looks pointy, and under his arm he has 2 loaves of bread. They're both smiling. Okay, this is getting very interesting, but we know that small man with the big, beautiful schnoz is in there with the red hat, and well, he doesn't seem so bad. I'm wondering what happened with the horse. Okay, so turn the page. Okay, oh, wow. On page 134, I I see the loaves of bread, but I see the man. Yikes, one of the loaves of bread looks to be devoured by, well, at least one of those lions looks pretty ferocious. But friends, we never want to go up to a lion, and even if it's smiling at you. Okay, look at page 135. The man is smiling. It looks to be the same guy in the purple cape. And ooh, oh, there's a woman in a beautiful pink dress and sitting on a purple chair, and she has jewelry and a crown. What type of chair do you think she might be sitting on? Ooh, I wonder if she's important. And the building they're in looks pretty snazzy too. All right, turn the page. Page 136. I see the same man, and it looks like he's got a cup. I see pretty flowers, and it looks like a tiny waterfall. 137. I see three men, and they're smiling, and I see the man with the cup. I see the vines, but they're smiling this time. If they're the same men in the beginning, those are the ones that looked really upset. This is a good thing that we do a picture walk. Again, maybe then when we read this story, the pictures are going to help us kind of put it together. Okay, turn the page. 138. Oh, all right. I see those men again. I'm kind of thinking they're the ones from the beginning. I see somebody sleeping in the background. I see a beautiful fire, and they're pouring water into a cup. I don't know, but this is getting good. Okay, look on page 139, and I see the three men. And do you remember the man, the older man that was in the bed? Look at him. I think he's drinking one of those cups, and he seems to be smiling. And I don't see tears right now. Let's turn the page. Looking at page 140, right at the top, two men with beards and long hair. They're holding a cup, and they seem to be smiling. But look at the man at the bottom. That's the one that had the purple cloak. He doesn't look so happy. He has a bag. Now, look on the next page, and I see way off in the distance, maybe it looks like three people, and one might be on the ground, and one's carrying a stick. It looks like one's wearing a hat. And I see that woman who is wearing a crown, who we think might be a princess or a queen. And then it looks like two men behind her. They're wearing helmets, and it looks like they have weapons. I wonder who they are. Maybe they're guards. Let's turn the page. Keep going. Oh, I like this picture, 142 and 143. I see a man with long hair and a cape and a gorgeous horse, and looks like they're coming across the countryside to go to a beautiful castle. Look at the flags flowing. Turn the page. 144. Whoa. Remember those guards that were helping the person with the crown? I don't think they're going to let the man on the horse pass. Look at page 145. There's the same woman with the crown. She's smiling. And there's our friend in the purple cape that was not looking so happy before. I wish we could see his face and see if he's happier. Oh, I can't wait to read this. Okay, turn the page. 146. That looks like they're very happy, and they're giving each other big hugs. They're big smiles. Now, I think we just figured out some of this. Look at the next page, the last page. Do you remember the man in the bed? Who do you think he might be? I see something really awesome on his head. Oh, now it's coming together. Do you have some ideas? Pause the video, share them with your learning coach, and unpause it. And I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to read this story. Okay, go ahead and pause. I'm just going to flip through the pages. Get out of here, scram. Okay, hey, ha ha ha, you're back. All right, The Water of Life, adapted from the Brothers Grimm. Remember, I want you to listen to the story. You can close your eyes. You can look at the pictures. You can try and follow along with me. But those of you that have watched videos before, I'm so sorry. Sometimes it's not very easy. Okay, here we go. There once was a king who fell very ill. The royal doctors examined him and frowned and shook their heads. They went to the king's three sons and said, "Alas, we have given your father our most powerful medicines, but day by day he grows weaker. There is nothing more we can do. Your royal father, we fear, has little time to live. The three sons were saddened by this news, and they went down into the palace garden and wept. The first picture makes sense. Page 125. Just then an old man passed by. When he saw the three young princes in tears, he stopped to ask, "Young masters, why do you grieve? You are in the flower of youth, when your voices should ring with laughter. What brings these tears from your eyes?" They told him their father was so ill that he would most certainly die, for nothing seemed to cure him. Then the old man said, "I know of one remedy, and that is the water of life. If he drinks it, he will become well again. But it is hard to find, and the way is filled with danger." Friends, I think a lot of this story just made sense. How about you? All right, turn the page. The oldest son said, "I will find it." He went to the sick father. "Father," he said, "I beg you to let me go forth in search of the water of life, for that alone can save you." "No," said the king, "the danger is too great. I would rather die." But the oldest son begged so long that the king at last consented, which means he said yes and agreed. "I will not fail you, my father," said the oldest prince. "I would do anything to save your life." But in his heart he thought, "If I bring the water of life, then I shall be best beloved of my father, and I alone shall inherit the kingdom." Stop right there. If you're going to do something kind for someone else, should you expect something in return? Now, it's nice to get something in return, but when we do something kind for someone else, it really comes from the heart when you don't expect anything in return, except maybe a thank you. That means we truly did something for someone else. The more you know. Okay, bottom paragraph. The word is so, S-O. So he set out, and when he had ridden forth a little distance, he came across a dwarf by the side of the road, who called to him and said, "Where do you ride so fast, young master?" "Silly shrimp," said the prince very haughtily, "it is nothing to you." He's snotty. And then he spurred his horse and rode on, leaving the dwarf in a cloud of dust. The dwarf grew angry, and staring hard at the prince, he wished an evil wish. So now if you think about the pictures that we've seen, think about the moral and the lesson we're going to learn. I think you're putting it together already because you're so smart. And you all have your thinking caps on and your smarty pants. And by the way, thank you for washing those. Turn the page. Soon the prince entered a narrow valley. The farther he rode, the closer the mountains drew together. At last the road became so narrow that he could not advance another step. It was impossible either to turn his horse around. Let me try that again. I apologize. It was impossible either to turn his horse around, to dismount from the saddle, and he was shut in as if in a prison. Now, friends, you see, when I was reading, it just wasn't making sense to me, so I stopped the sentence. I went back much slower and tried again. All right, turn the page. Page 130, 130. The sick king waited long for his oldest son to return, but he did not. Then the second son said, "Father, let me go forth to seek the water of life, for that alone can save you." But he thought to himself, "If my brother is dead, then the kingdom will be mine." Man, so far two of these brothers do not seem very good in their heart. Noble. Second paragraph. At first the king would not allow him to go, but at last he agreed. So the prince set out on the same road that his brother had taken. Soon he, too, met the dwarf, who stopped him to ask, "Where do you ride so fast, young master?" "Silly pipsqueak," said the prince, "it is none of your business." And he rode on without giving the dwarf another look. I bet you see a pattern. But the dwarf stared at him and wished an evil wish. Now that's not very kind either. And before long the prince went into a forest. As he rode, the way grew thick with thorns and vines, till at last he found himself trapped and could go neither forward nor backward. So I'm getting the hint. If you're not very nice to this dwarf, things aren't going to go your way. We've had one who's stuck in the mountains, in the rocks, and now one, wow, look at picture Page 131, his horse and him are stuck in these vines. Turn the page. Page 132. As the second son also remained away so long, the youngest begged to be allowed to go forth to fetch the water. At last the king agreed to let him go. But only return, said the king, when you have found your brothers and can bring them home with you. I shall do as you wish, father, said the youngest son. On the road he met the dwarf, who stopped him to ask, "Where do you ride so fast, young master?" What do you think he's going to do? The first two weren't very kind. I wonder if the third one's going to do the same thing. Okay, so I'm not the first paragraph, not the second, the third. Okay, I'm right above where the horse, the man, and the dwarf are. The T-H-E. The young prince stopped his horse and dismounted. "Greetings to you, sir," he said. "I ride to seek the water of life, for my father is sick, and without it he shall surely die." "A gentle answer and true," said the dwarf. "But do you know where this water is to be found?" Page 133. "No," admitted the prince, "but I shall seek until I find it for my father's sake." "You speak well," said the dwarf, "not like your haughty brothers, who answered with insults. I will tell you how to obtain the water of life." Again, being kind and doing the right thing and respecting others helps you every time. Okay, so under the picture now. It springs from a fountain in the courtyard of an enchanted castle. Take this iron wand, and with it strike 3 times on the iron door of the castle, and it will spring open. Inside lie 2 lions with gaping jaws and sharp teeth. Take these 2 loaves of bread, and throw a loaf to each of them, and they will be quieted. Then hurry to fetch some of the water of life before the clock strikes 12, else the door will shut again, and you will be locked in forever. Turn the page. The prince took the wand and the bread and warmly thanked the dwarf, and then set out on his way. When he arrived at the enchanted castle, everything was as the dwarf had said. The door sprang open at the 3rd stroke of the wand. As the prince entered, the lions stirred and roared, but to each he tossed a loaf of bread, and the beasts lay down to chew like contented kittens. Page 135. The prince entered the castle and came to a large and splendid hall. There sat a beautiful maiden, who rejoiced when she saw him. "Long have I waited for you," she said. "You shall have the whole of my kingdom, and if you return in a year, our wedding shall be celebrated. But first, as I know, you must bring the water of life to your father." And she told him where to find the spring where the water flowed. "It is far," she said, "and you must hurry to draw some of it before the clock strikes 12. Have you figured out the story? Bet you have. Turn the page. Page 136. The prince thanked her and hurried on until at last he came to the spring. He drew some water in a cup and hastened away. He moved quickly. He heard the clock striking 1/4 to 12 and ran as fast as he could. Just as the clock struck 12, he leaped through the opening, and the iron door fell with such force that it cut away a piece of his boot. "I have the water of life," the prince rejoiced. On his way homeward, he again passed the dwarf. "Kind dwarf," said the prince, "can you tell me where my 2 brothers are? They went out before I did in search of the water of life and have not returned." "One is imprisoned between 2 mountains," said the dwarf, "and the other is trapped in vines and thorns. I have condemned them to stay there because they were so haughty, they were so snooty." Page 137. But the prince pleaded until at last the dwarf agreed to release his brothers. "But," said the dwarf, "I warn you, beware of them, for they have bad hearts." When the prince found his brothers, he rejoiced, and told them how he had found the water of life and had brought a cupful with him. He also told them how he had found a beautiful princess who was willing to wait a year for him, and then their wedding would be celebrated and he would rule a great kingdom. Can you predict what's going to happen? Page 138. After that, they rode on together. During the journey, the two older brothers rode apart and whispered to each other, "Our younger brother has found the water of life, and for that our father will give him the kingdom that belongs to us." They then began to plot with each other how to ruin their brother. They waited until they found him fast asleep, and then they poured the water of life out of his cup and into theirs, and took the water for themselves. Into his cup poured salty seawater. Kind of sounds like they're cheating, doesn't it? Next page. When they arrived home, the youngest son took his cup to the sick king so that he could drink and be cured. But scarcely had the king drunk a very little bit of the salty seawater than he became still worse than before. Then the two older brothers came to the king. "Our younger brother has tried to poison you," they claimed. "Here, father, drink this." Then they handed him the cup with the true water of life. The king sipped it and felt his sickness departing, and he became strong and healthy as in the days of his youth. Now, before we turn the page, remember, this is going to teach us a moral or a lesson. What do you think might happen? Because we know a good heart always wins in the end. Those brothers don't have a good heart, but right now they gave the water of life to their father. It sounds like they're going to win in the end. So, I don't know about this. Turn the page. 140. After that, the older brothers went to the youngest and mocked him. "You certainly found the water of life," they said, "but you should have kept your eyes open. We took it from you while you were asleep. And what is more, when a year is over, one of us will go and fetch the beautiful princess who has promised to marry you. And it will do you no good to try and tell our father, for he is so angry that he has banished you from the kingdom. You must leave and be a wanderer all your days, for if you stay, you shall lose your life." Kind of reminds me of someone going, All right, bottom paragraph. With bitter tears, the prince set off from the palace, thinking that he would never again see his home or his beloved father. Many of you are going right now, "That is not fair." I'm with you. Okay, page 141. And he wandered through forest and valley, over mountain and plain. The days turned to weeks, and the weeks to months, till almost a year had passed. In the meantime, the princess had ordered that a road be made to her castle. This was no ordinary road of stones and gravel, but a road all bright and golden. And the princess told her guards that whoever came riding to her straight up the middle of the road should be allowed to enter the castle, but whoever rode by the side of the road should be sent away. Now look at the picture. Now I can tell what those men are doing in the background. They're building the road. Turn the page. Oh, this is the picture that I like, though. Remember, the man on the horse and riding with his cape. Okay, page 143. Almost a year had passed since the princess met the youngest son. Now the eldest son decided to go to the princess, claim her for his bride, and take her kingdom for his own. So he rode forth, and when he came near the castle, he saw the splendid golden road. It would be a great shame, he thought, if I were to ride over so valuable a road and lose even one fragment of this gold. So he turned his horse and rode just to the right side of the road. But when he came to the door, the guards would not allow him to enter and told him to go away because he's greedy. Turn the page. Soon after this, the second prince set out, and when he came to the golden road, and his horse had put one foot on it, he thought it would be a shame to ride on this valuable road and break off even a piece of it. So he turned his horse and rode just to the left side of the road, and when he reached the door, the guards told him to go away. Now, It was a year to the day since the youngest prince had left the enchanted castle where he had met the princess and found the water of life. And on this day his wanderings brought him again near the castle. His head was full of thoughts of the princess. So much did he wish to be with her that as he walked, he never noticed the golden road at all. So he walked straight up the middle of the golden road, and when he came to the door, it was opened, and the princess received him with joy. Turn the page. "Oh, you have returned," she said, "as I trusted you would do." And so their wedding was celebrated with great rejoicing. "I have such happiness," said the prince, "that it seems selfish to wish for more. Yet I would wish that my father could know of our marriage and share in our joy." "I shall go to him," said the princess. And so she rode to the palace of the king and told him how the older brothers had betrayed the youngest, and all else that had passed. The old king wished to punish them, but they had fled from the land, and they never came back as long as they lived. I want you to think about what that lesson of the story is. We talked about it a little before. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed reading it to you. Te amo, my amores, and we shall read again very soon. Hasta luego.